Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to RackFocus. Now, today's video feature is a continuation of a conversation that we had on our podcast, which is also called RackFocus, with Paul Leonard-Morgan. Now, like a lot of people who work behind the scenes in movies, you may not know who Paul Leonard-Morgan is. And Paul is this amazingly talented, fantastic film and television music composer. Now, we were talking to Paul specifically about two projects, and they're my two favorite probably projects I've seen in the last 18 months. One is a documentary film called The Last Breath that he worked on, that he composed, and the other one is Tales from the Loop. If you don't know what either one of those projects is, I really suggest you watch them both, first of all. One is a harrowing documentary, one is a television series that is sci-fi but isn't sci-fi, and it's about people and they're separate elements, but they're all together. It's kind of hard to really discuss it, but I really recommend them. No stake in them whatsoever. I just loved them, and that's why I reached out to Paul to talk to him. Now, we had this big, nice, long conversation with Paul on our podcast over 2 episodes. And if you're interested in composing for film or Last Breath or Tales from the Loop, I really suggest that you go check it out because it was awesome. However, today what I did when we got done and I said, Paul, you let me see your home studio, which is awesome to see how, what as a composer, what all the tools they have and all these little things he uses to make music and sounds and change stuff and piano and this electronic thing. And it was just super fascinating. And so I asked him if he would oblige us and give us a tour. This is a VIP tour. He's never done it before. We really appreciate it. And we're about to have some fun. So I'm Josh Hayes. Let's rack focus.
Hey, so I am Paul Leonard-Morgan. Hi from LA. It is a beautiful sunny day. It's about 115 outside. So I'm staying in my AC studio and working away. Hi Josh, thanks for that. Lovely intro. Hello, this is my studio. So what I thought I'd do is I'll give you a quick guided tour of some of the gear that I use. I don't think I've ever done this to anyone before. So it'll probably be really boring, but I find geek stuff lovely. So yeah, this is my studio. Okay, so this is my writing room. So I had it built about 2 years ago. And what we got is kind of really weird design glass. They said, don't do glass. And I'm just like, I want glass so I can see out. I'm sick of dark studios. So they did this kind of really random, everything's at angles, up and down and over. And the same over here. And then I've got kind of automatic blinds, which can come down. Where are the blinds? Here you go. Remote control. Which one's that? Oh, there you go. That's the middle one. And so, so they're all blackout. So when I have directors around, pre-COVID, it's all blackout. So I've got my Nord, I've got my JP8080. That bad boy took a little while to get sorted onto American voltage. Some Neumann mics, some guitars. I use Adams A77Xs, which are beautiful on these cool stands, which work really nicely actually. What they called isoacoustics. Argosy, there you go. So that's my surrounds back there. My happy drums. Dredd, obligatory. My hamburger phone, very important when making calls. TV808, TV03, Technica, some weird stuff there. These are all just my little things for having fun with. Okay, beautiful. Needs a dust. Ugh. Anyway, so this is the fun stuff. Here I've got DP, Digital Performer, which I've used forever. I don't really use anything else, to be honest. I can probably just about use Logic. No, I can't. I can use just about Pro Tools. We've got Phototech. This is cool. Here we go. Listen to that. Should we turn it up? Listen to that. Get some feedback going. I love this stuff. Oh, it's amazing. Anyway, you don't need to hear that. We've got Lyra 8. We've got the Matrix Brute. Down here's the Patch Babe. Some Focusrite stuff. DVDs, blah, 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 blah. Grace. I use Grace preamps. They're really nice. And what is cool about this place is that everything through my writing in the live room, which I'll show you in a minute, can be recorded in here. And everything I do in here can be recorded through there. So everything's like this double setup, which is quite cool. Digital Performer I love. I use lots of Slate stuff, Arturia. I use lots of every single kind of bus, Vienna Pro, all that kind of stuff. Everything's got Lexicon Halls, PSP vintage warmers, all that stuff. And kind of the way it all routes into... So that's tons and tons of MIDI tracks on my template. Here we go. Scroll up and down. You got your strings. You got bloody everything. And then as it goes down, everything gets routed into these AUXs, which then get routed into the stems. So when I'm ready, I just arm these guys here, press record, and away we go. And that's what happens when I'm on TV and film stuff. The Vienna stuff is on this computer over here, that screen there. So if ever I want to kind of check out what's going on my slave template, that's over there. Yeah, what have we got? Anything worthwhile listening to? Probably not. But it's got a really nice sound, this room though. I like it. So that's that. Shut up. And then we've got clouds up there as well. So they've all got LED lighting, so I can change all the colours. So that is that. So now, let me take you through, and we'll go for a little walk, and we'll come through here. So, come to the machine room. It's like the cupboard of doom. Here you go. However many old Macs lying around. We've got, I don't think I've ever used that once, the Omni talkback system. We got tons and tons of Motu 2408s. These are the two main PCs. One for me and one for my assistant. So we've got kind of identical rigs. Two pimped up ones of those bad boys. So they were pimped up, the motherboards and stuff, so they're super, super powerful. Just waiting for the new Macs to come out. But nothing works with their bloody new software system. So I'm waiting for that. And then, ta-da! Here is the writing room. No, it's not. Here's the live room. I always get them mixed up. So this is my Yamaha C7 over here. You'll see what I mean about the patch bay here. So ties to writing room, ties to live room, so we can record anything, anywhere, basically. Here you go. Obligatory cajone. This is, I don't know, load of junk, really. This is my assistant's, where he sits. So he's got, again, identical setup, set for a 10-inch smaller screen. He's only got 75 inches. Yeah, little kitchen there. That's my chair where I sit. It's my view. And yeah, so kit. We've got Rhodes. I love this bad boy. It's so beautiful. I spent ages trying to find this guy, and ended up, I think it was in San Francisco. So I sent someone up to go and get it, and they drove it back down, but I love it. It's hard just doing it with your left hand. Yamaha, which is say, this is where I write. I've got these shirt mics on there, which I've had forever. Cost me a bloody mortgage, but it was so nice. And this is quite cool. So I got this last week, or the week before. But basically, these guys here are, these connect via a thing called AnyDesk. And I used to have massive problems when I was trying to connect via Wi-Fi using Apple screen sharing. It was rubbish. So I used this guy here. And now what that does is connects wirelessly through to the stuff in that room, and it means that then I'm using Digital Performer on here, I press record, and I can just record myself, and I can watch the movie on that screen, and I watch Digital Performer on that screen. And it means that I can record myself as opposed to having to wait around for other people, and sometimes it's nice just being in here, just record by myself. So that is pretty much it. This is my studio, and I hope that our podcast that I've done with Josh, our little chat, is interesting. It was about 3 days worth of chatting non-stop with him. It's always good grabbing a coffee first thing in the morning over here. So anyway, so I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you have fun. And Josh, one day you'll get to see this place in person. All right. See ya. Bye.
All right, how cool is that, right? And I'm looking forward to visiting, and when the corona, maybe when things move along a little bit, I'll go and I'll shoot a more intimate piece of kind of his process, and we can go deeper into it and we can learn even more. So, but I was smiling from ear to ear when I was watching it because it's just so interesting to me to learn about that world. Now, as a special treat for any of you Tales from the Loop fans, which as I mentioned before, I don't know what we would be called, loop heads or something, I don't know. I love the Tales fans. I thought that I'd put a little bit of the audio podcast, my favorite part of the interview probably, at the end, where Paul mentions one thing about the composing for each individual episode of Tales from the Loop. So stay tuned for that. Let's see, we got 10 minutes left, so I'm going to give you the rapid fire round. You ready for this?
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to tell me one thing that you remember about composing for each episode. I'm going to do it in order, and we'll see if this works.
Oh my
God. Is this putting you on the spot way too much?
One thing I remember about composing for every single episode.
Yep, I'll start it off. So, and it can be anything. It can be one thing you liked about it. Yeah, starting with the loop.
So episode 1, Walk to School, simply because it's the main theme, and the version that you hear was actually written to a cut that you don't see anymore, and lots of stuff happens that is actually not that important. But because that was the main theme, it's where it all started, I guess. So yes. That. Okay. And I remember writing with Phillip, going, the fact that was almost our first collaboration. It's like, here are the chords. Hey, well, those chords are lovely. Here's the melody. Hey, that's lovely. This is where it can go. So that's episode. Nice. Okay, episode 2, Transpose. Episode 2, Transpose, fight sequence where the two boys fight in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. It was our first kind of quartet track, as it were, and it had quite a lot of energy, and then they fight, and then it cuts to them outside. Do you know that sequence? And there's a kind of absolutely quartet. So I remember that for that. 3, Stasis. I remember that one of the hardest points of that was as she is walking out of her mother's house after she's caught her mother doing something. Yep. Without giving away. Yep. It was quite tricky because it's a long sequence. And again, because there's not a lot happening without giving it away, in the actual film itself, you can't do too much with sound. But if you don't do much with sound, it's very hard to make an emotional pull. So although it's not a very memorable moment musically, how we achieve that with these kind of creepy sounds and stuff is lovely. There's also another moment in that, which is where she is spinning round, the daughter is spinning around May, with her dress during a moment with her boyfriend. And she's this wonderful, she's in her own land. And it took bloody ages to get that cut right because I could never get the music to fit to that exact moment where she's spinning around in her dress. But in the end, it did. So that's that. 4, Ecosphere. I'm loving this, by the way. This is great. Every single thing about Ecosphere, but I guess the moment where Russ, the grandfather, takes Cole up in the middle of it, and they switch on some lights, and he says, there's always light in the darkness, and oh god, everything about it is just the end of episode 4 has a track called Blink of an Eye, which you clearly won't hear because Amazon just switch on to credits. But Blink of an Eye is one of my favorite tracks of the entire series. And that was then we used at the end of episode 8. Okay, cool. That's what you close it with? A slightly different version. But again, I think it's that combination of what's going on in it as well. And Nathaniel's wonderful script with those lines. He's just, there's light in the darkness if you look for it. There's it just of its moment at the moment. So, well said. Episode 5 with the robot. Control. I mean, it's just bloody funny where she's punching. He's outside patrolling his house with the robot behind him in the middle of the night, and he lights up a cigarette, and the robot also lights up a cigarette. It's quite funny. As far as the actual moment itself, I really like the moment actually at the end of it where the mum and dad kind of get back together and they're sat on the bed, and the daughter just kind of looks in and sees them, and she does a little ballet kind of twirl at the end. So I remember that. I think that's absolutely lovely. Did you put something in? Is that a silent moment, or did you put a little piece of music in for that? it's a tiny piece of music at the end that comes in. But again, you know, forget about the actual long track itself. It's the fact that it's placing, is working out how many seconds of silence to give it before that happens. So that's that. 6, Gaddis.
Parallel.
Yeah, I love. It's just such a beautiful episode. I love the fact that we actually had to use. Well, I didn't have to, but Mother Goose. It was a Ravel thing. And so I had to play the piano for that. Philip was like, "You do it. It's all yours." So thanks. So I had to play it to match his fingers on the keys, which was bloody hard. That's about halfway through. As far as the track itself goes, there's a lovely little track called Gaddis is Happy, which is kind of the opening track for it, which then comes in different ways. It's just a very simple piano track. So those moments there. Episode 7, oh my God. The
Enemies.
moment has to be when the two robots are having a face-off, and this isn't necessarily a good memory, but the fact that I was looking at a screen that had text on it going, robot, and then the text moves around the screen. And that's the robot fight. It's like,
oh, God.
So there would be effects on it. And I go, how are we supposed to write something for this when I don't know when they're hitting each other? And then it became very apparent that you couldn't write it in a pure Hollywood way, which is like getting every single hit point.
Yeah, again, like Transformers or something.
Yeah, and this series is, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head, because that was what it was never intended to be, a Transformers fight, you know?
Yeah. Wait, but that's episode 8, right?
No, that's 7.
Isn't 7 on the island?
Yes.
So what am I? I'm mixing up.
Oh my God, have I got this wrong?
Yeah.
Oh my God, episode 8, you're right. 7's on the island where he comes across the vagabond. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting me right. 7, when he's going to the island, I would say when he sees the vagabond for the first time, and we got a detuned quartet on that, which is quite cool.
What does that mean, detuned? For
Sorry?
What does detuned mean?
Detuned. So if you record a quartet going da, then you'll put that into your computer and then make it go down.
Cool.
So you're making a slight digital effect out of a natural recording, but instead of using a synthesizer to do it, you're actually kind of doing that. So you see the vagabond for the first time, but again, it's about creating a sound that this thing isn't necessarily scary, but you realize, and it's quite hard to make a person feel emotion for a robot. So that vagabond comes back at various times, and at the end, when he is looking at the robot and he puts his arm down and gives it to the robot, it was a very tender moment. So yeah, probably that part. And then, oh God, I mean, 8, so many parts. Then that robot fight in particular, but also the fact that you get to write, and it's something that we had scored. Nathaniel had asked us to score when we were working on episode 1. They were working on the rough idea of the sequence. There's a great big 7-minute sequence where he's gone to find his mum, and then you almost get this kind of montage of what's happened over the last however long, and it's just 6 minutes of piano and cello, or 7 minutes of piano and cello, something like that. And to begin with, they've been thinking of using the Swedish song that's used in episode 1. There was a way that we could have her singing the song with our main theme coming underneath it. There was a way that we could blend it. And in the end,
mom is singing in the bathtub. Got it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're trying to find out if there was a way that we could use that. And then Nathaniel was like, do you know what? Screw this. The music's so utterly beautiful. The music's just going to carry the sequence. And that was, episode 1 and 2. So that when we were on episode 1, we scored that for episode 8. So the thing is, they had then cut the scene to our initial demo, but I hadn't recorded it with click track. So the piano playing was all over the place, and there were so many inverted commas mistakes in it. It was just a little attempt. So I then had to basically try and work out what the frig we'd done and try and replay but click track, but at the same time have that same kind of sensibility. So it was really bloody hard.
You did it, and you did it perfect. You had 11 minutes, and you did it in 10. I'll say this, and then I'll let you go, because we've got our heart out for you. Enemies number 7 was interesting, because my girlfriend, when she was watching it, she does not watch scary movies, And that was the one where she was like grabbing me, and she's like, "I think this is a horror movie," and I was like, "Yeah, the composition sounds, more like a horror film almost, parts of it, in the beginning of it." So
was she frightened by it?
she was for the first half of it, and then, as is often the case, you're like, "Oh," but she was legitimately frightened by it.
You see, it's interesting because, and again, it is a horror, I guess, to a degree. It's as horror
in his mind,
again,
right? For the first half, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it's as Hollywood as it gets in the sense that these things happen. But my daughters, when I was composing, my daughters are 7 and 9, or then 6 and 8, and they would both walk in and they would see the robot. They weren't in the slightest bit scared. But this is good, it wasn't supposed to be this kind of Ligeti or Penderecki kind of the sounds coming over the top. It was supposed to be slightly haunting, obviously, and a bit creepy. But again, the wonderful soundscapes that they created of the fires kind of going and so on. But it's almost like the one that it's a standalone from the rest of the series. It's slightly different in style, I guess. But that's funny. Well, tell her it's all okay. It'll all be fine.
I'll let her know one half of the composition team was here to comfort her. Well, Paul, thank you so much. You are a minch, and I'm incredibly impressed by how fast you're able to do the 1 through 8 episode breakdown.
In 10 minutes. If only I could score as quickly as that. So. You are very, very welcome. Absolutely lovely to speak to you, man.
Thanks for watching RackFocus. We appreciate it. You can find links to just about everything down below. And if you want to help us out, please hit the like button down there. You can comment, which is awesome. We're always interested to hear what you think about episodes and what you have to say. And you can hit the subscribe button if you're interested as well. Thanks so much.